You are listening to the Getting Lucky Mixed Martial Arts Podcast. But this is part 2 of the UFC 157 Extravaganza.
Woo!
Ladies night. I'm flashing the computer screen as I do this. Give me some beats.
Now there's a nipple slip.
Oh yeah, and I got lovely areolas, I'll tell you. It's one of the reasons I got my wife. This is the pay-per-view side of the card. We've already talked about part 1. We touched on the Dennis Bermudez Matt Grice fight of the year, fight of the century. Whoa. Not since John L. Sullivan knocked out Irish Tom Lawler did we see something that... Well, I don't even know if that existed. All right. Pay-per-view. Joining me, as you've probably heard, is my dear friend Mitchell Stuckey. Stuckey and Lucky.
That's me. And you.
That's you. Can you turn it up a bit? This is exciting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hooray! We saw women fight. Hooray! It was awesome.
Yeah.
It really was awesome.
We'll get to that in a second, but man, oh man, am I glad that Ronda Rousey forgot her fight bra and had to wear her weigh-in bra to the fight.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Google
she
it.
Forgot her fight bra?
I don't know what happened, but she said, I didn't have my fight bra, so I had to wear my weigh-in bra. And when I saw her come into the ring with it, I was like, wow, that looks rather lacy. I feel like I'm watching a Victoria's Secret stare down. First fight, though, was Josh Koscheck versus Robbie Lawler. Can we not call Robbie Lawler the Mike Tyson of MMA? It just makes me sick to my
Somebody
stomach.
calls him that?
That's what they kept saying over and over and over again. He's the Mike Tyson of MMA. Like, no, Mike Tyson was an animal, and he killed like 65 people.
Ugh, I didn't even hear him say that.
Literally.
That's just terrible.
Robbie Lawler is a slugger with power. That does not make him Mike Tyson on any level.
No, but I was legitimately scared when he had Koscheck down on all fours and was throwing that bomb. That was scary. You know, you could...
I just, before we get to that, I just want to say, I actually kind of like Josh Koscheck with short hair. I think it works for him. I hate his blonde pubes, you know, like his pube fro. But when he actually had it a bit shorter, I was like, I'm kind of digging this hair now.
I didn't care any little tiny bit about the way he looked.
This is ladies' night, Mitchell. It's the details that matter.
Well, we should have talked a little bit more about LeVar Johnson then. You know what I mean?
Big Johnson, hello! I give that 2 snaps and a twist. All right. Robbie Lawler. This was funny because Josh Koscheck had an Alistair Overeem moment. When Alistair Overeem was knocked out by Bigfoot Silva, did you see that?
Did you see it?
It was pretty lovely. There was a moment where Bigfoot Silva is flurrying him against the cage, and all of a sudden, in between punches, Alistair Overeem has this, I think I left the oven on, and he's like staring off into space. Josh Koscheck did that too. He got punched once, and he sort of like looks off into space and go,
that hurt a little bit.
Do I have insurance for my car? And then Robbie Lawler hits him a few times. Now, if Josh Koscheck wants to complain that he wasn't knocked out, then don't stare off into space like that, because it looks like you're knocked out.
No, you know what I thought got him, and I didn't hear anybody talk about this in the post-fight. I didn't hear him talk about it at the presser afterwards. Is it looked to me like Koscheck got kneed in the face, and that put him down. But, you know, Koscheck's always trying to say he got hit illegally or whatever. But it looked like he did eat a knee, and then he put his head down, and Robbie Lawler was like, yes, I'm just going to destroy you now. And I think, I mean, I'm not taking anything at all away from Robbie Lawler, because even if Robbie Lawler just took his pants down, started peeing on him, and confused Josh Koscheck, I'm gonna let that happen. I don't care how you take out Josh Koscheck. It's legal in my book. So, but that's my take. I thought when I saw the fight, he took a knee, and that's what threw him down to the ground, and he couldn't recover from that. And he can bitch all he wants. He was out.
Karma is a dirty, dirty whore, and a vengeful one at that. You fake a knee, you're going to get a knee. I don't know if he got a knee or not. I actually hope he did. I hope that's what put him out. I will say, during the post-fight presser, Dana White, in defending the stoppage, said Josh Koscheck had no memory of what happened. He just woke up and said, why'd you stop the fight?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
You know, actually, that reminds me, there was for the Dennis Bermudez fight, he said he woke up in round 2 and thought, oh my God, I'm in a fight. I think I'm in California. That was great. That's a great quote. These guys are animals. They're just sitting there fighting on autopilot.
That's what they were
When
doing.
I'm on autopilot, I think I scratch my nuts and take a shit.
And that's why we're not the pro fighters. We just talk about it.
No. I value my brain cells too much. I wouldn't want to sound like Robbie Lawler, although I like watching him fight. Another welterweight fight, Court McGee versus Josh Neer. There was some confusion among fans. Why the hell was this fight on the main card? And that's because Chad Mendes was supposed to fight Manny Gamburian. Someone got injured, they got pulled, and they put this fight. They slotted it right into the same spot. I don't know why they didn't bring Brendan Schaub and LeVar up, or they didn't put Court McGee and Neer first and let Josh Koscheck go after. I don't know why, but that's why this fight. That's their justification.
I agree. I probably would have brought Brendan Schaub and LeVar Johnson up, but I guess at the same time when you're watching it, the order doesn't really matter. I would have preferred seeing Court McGee on FX, but
well, maybe they were hoping that if they ended FX in exciting fashion with a vicious, huge, massive knockout by Brendan Schaub,
people would buy the pay-per-view.
By Big Johnson, then people would be like, I'm watching that fucking prelim. I'm gonna watch that pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But this fight, Court McGee, he set a record. He threw 5,647 significant strikes. Apparently, that's a record.
It shocked me when Goldberg threw up a number and then significant strikes after it, because the number seemed way too high. Like
ludicrous speed.
Go! It was at the end of the first round, and it felt like he said 157 or something. And I was like,
he's at 100. You're like, what?
Yeah, there's no possible way I didn't see him throw that many strikes, let alone significant strikes.
No. See, with Court McGee, when he throws a punch, you count each finger as having an individual strike.
I mean, that number just seemed crazy. But then he did come within, a handful of setting the record. But
no, he did.
No, Nick Diaz still has.
For a 3-round fight.
Oh, okay.
I think for a 3-round fight, he set the record.
Oh, that's just incredible.
That's incredible. What's not incredible is McGee dropped Neer with a body shot and then he didn't press to finish the fight. I think it was in round 1.
Boss Rutan was killing himself watching that. How do you not see that and just continue? And there was a point when he did find it, when Neer dropped, like literally dropped, where Neer left that whole side of his body wide open on the ground, and McGee didn't even hit him there at all. He could have hammer-fisted a victory home and didn't go for it. That's fighter awareness, and he did not have it.
So good job to Neer. After round 1, he recovered and really pushed, I think, McGee. I thought McGee tired in round 2, but then he kind of got his quote-unquote second win in round 3, but Neer won round 2. So congratulations. That was a pretty good fight. Honestly...
there were a lot of bombs that landed from Neer, and I was surprised that McGee was still standing. Like, Neer can take a punch.
Neer's got a good chin, too.
I know Neer can take a punch. But, no, Court McGee took a 30-27. Neer didn't win. Anyway.
With Court McGee has his beard, he looks like a pharaoh, with those little chin things that they wear on their sarcophagus. Doesn't he kind of look like he could braid it into like those pharaoh things and come in like...
I love that sarcophagus is a word that is in your lexicon that you don't have to recall when you're trying to think of something. I would have never come up with... I would have been like, in that, that Egyptian thing with the pharaohs.
So you're glad I didn't say Ankh then, right?
Ankh would have...
Come in carrying an Ankh with a headdress.
You're far too cultured for me.
Sorry. I was a history major. Misspent college days. Well, the part where I spent drinking and whoring, that was well spent. The part I overslept my history classes, I probably could have overslept a different major.
By whoring, you mean paying for sex because you couldn't get any, right?
Well, if you want to call paying for sex being in a fraternity, then yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was paying for sex. I paid my dues. Next fight. Liz Carmouche versus Ivan Menjivar. Oh, I'm sorry. Uriah Faber versus Ivan Menjivar.
I'm so sad that everybody else noticed that because I thought I was super creative in noticing that, and then it was all over Twitter, and I was like, damn it, everyone else does.
Yeah, and they even referenced it on the post-fight presser, and Carmouche and Uriah Faber took pictures together and posted them on Twitter. It was hilarious.
Yeah, they were talking about how they didn't want the ending of their fight to be similar.
Because it almost
really was.
Yeah, almost got that standing rear naked choke. God, that was hilarious.
I'm happy to see Faber back in the win column against Menjivar.
I remember we talked about this. I thought, is Uriah washed up, or has Uriah just fought like a handful of the pound-for-pound greatest fighters with Dominic Cruz, Aldo, and now Renan Barão?
Yeah.
And I think he's proved decisively it's the latter. He's still elite. He's fighting the very best guys.
He's elite if it's not for a belt. There was a stat that I saw recently: 6-0 in his last non-title fights. 0-5 in his last 5 title fights.
And other than like the Mike Browns in there, you can get excused that because Aldo is, I think, a top 3 guy, and Barão looks like he's going to be top 5. Mm-hmm. Dominic Cruz was definitely a top 5 pound for pound guy. I can't really blame Uriah.
No, but
I will say that I don't like his trainer, the master.
Is it the Asian dude? God, that guy annoys me.
Yeah, he does. Bit too much there. Bit too much kung fu with the bowing and all that other. It's just a little bit too much.
Over the top. But how do you? First of all, he's going to beat everybody in his way up to the title fight. But how do you justify giving him another title fight?
Well, that's what we talked about, remember? Like, if he's actually good, he's actually great, he just can't beat a champion, then he really screws up his division, because nobody can get past Uriah, but Uriah can't win the belt.
And at what point does Dana just say, you know what, we're gonna sidestep Uriah, and he's gonna be a John Fitch. Nobody can beat him, but he's not gonna get a title shot. Title shit. How often are we gonna bring up? We gotta stop talking about John Fitch. He doesn't even listen.
John Fitch.
He might have more time now, though, to listen. Hey,
say Ferris. Say Ferris. What about the talk that Uriah might be cut? That's just silly talk.
I didn't find any truth in that. There's no way they were going to cut him.
Huge fan base. There's nobody sitting there saying, "Oh, he just got favored." Like, he doesn't have that kind of a backlash. He's actually really popular with everybody.
Right. And I think what they were doing that is just to add even more fear. You know, oh, they're going to cut Faber. Oh my God. Like,
whoa.
Fitch was a big deal.
They asked Dana, "Are you going to cut Faber if he loses?" He goes, "It's possible."
Yeah.
Like saying, anything's possible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And anytime you're involved with the Ultimate Fighter series, your shelf life in the UFC extends 100 times. Tito, Forrest, Bonner, he was a coach, so he's not going anywhere.
They're doing. You do the UFC a favor. They're going to appreciate that.
They are loyal.
They're like a mafia almost. It's sick.
Speaking of Tito, did you see his announcement where he was doing his manager role for Cyborg?
You mean like a couple months back?
No, it was like last week when he was announcing where she would sign.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, that was the most awkward, uncomfortable press conference I've ever seen. He is like shaking in his boots like a 4-year-old giving his speech on the U.S. president. The guy barely. I cannot stand him talking, and he always finds a way to talk about himself. Even though he's managing a fighter, he's like, "Oh, we started 360 as a management company just a year ago, and here we are announcing a fighter that's not me."
I wouldn't be surprised if he had brought up some type of neck surgery that we should really respect him for, because he was
on the People's Champ.
He's allowed to battle through a neck injury. He had a cracked skull when he came up with 360, and he battled through. His brain's actually falling out through his mouth right now, and there's part of it stuck in his nose, and he's still able to breathe. So we should really.
When I signed Cyborg to 360 Team Punishment, I had an engorged prostate, but I fought through it because that's what the fans wanted to see. I'm People's Champ.
I tore all of my metacarpals when I signed her, but no big. I still signed my name, big guy.
Ay. He was also there with Cyborg at the event.
Yeah, they went backstage.
Apparently they did a press tour to say, "Hey, 145, send 145."
Yeah, you know what's interesting though is Dana gave them tickets to the show, even after the fact. I thought that was
that people really give Dana a hard time, but I don't think we don't know the full story. And based off of the actions I've seen the UFC do, like really fight to get their fighters insurance while they're in camp and extra bonuses behind the scenes beyond what's reported, I think the UFC actually treats their fighters way better than any other combat sport.
We don't know the back of that story though, because there's got to be a reason that other fighters are like, why would Fedor not sign with them? There's got to be something.
Because of Finkelstein. Finkelstein wants the money, and they wanted to co-promote. Fedor was like, whatever Finkelstein says.
So why wouldn't Cyborg take the UFC is going to pay for her to fight in Invicta, where Invicta doesn't have to pay a dime for her, and they'll get all the profit off her name. So she'll still get UFC money while slimming down. I mean, it'd be the same thing. Now she's going to get paid less in Invicta. Why wouldn't they sign with the UFC?
Because they said, we never make a champion go fight at a catchweight. Like, when would they ever say to Anderson Silva, listen, you have to fight GSP for your title at 175?
Yeah, but they were telling her, go take 3 Invicta fights and try to get control of your weight and bring it down. Basically, unroid yourself while you have 3 fights.
Well, they said before that, we'll pay for you to cut. And maybe she said, listen, I don't want to be idle. So they said, okay, go fight in Invicta.
Yeah, that's
what
I'm saying.
Right?
And they were willing to pay her UFC money while she was fighting for each Invicta fight she had. Why would she?
Are you saying this to prove my point or to counter my point? Because I think you're proving my point that the UFC treats their fighters good.
Well, I'm saying that's what we know. What don't we know for her not to take that deal? That's what I'm saying.
I'll tell you what I do know. Do not follow Cyborg on Twitter, because she's got some bikini sexy photos that she's put up that they're really scary.
Yeah, I'm not doing that at
really,
all.
like, she's wearing like black leather with spikes, and she's got more paint on her face than the side of a barn. It is really, really scary.
Ugh.
If you're into that kind of thing, go check it out. If you're like Thai lady boys, maybe it's your thing. All right, we've put off this long enough. I guess we have to talk about Lyoto and Dan Henderson.
I'd rather go back to talking about Brennan Schaub and LeVar Johnson almost.
So right back to Cyborg. So what she looks like. This is what I said about this fight. I said it in the preview show, and I said it on MMA Share, and I got criticized for it. I said Dan Henderson is tailor-made for Lyoto to beat because Dan Henderson's footwork and movement is not good enough. You said, I don't think so, maybe. And on MMA Share, people were like, that's the safe pick. Why would you even make that? And my point was, because it's the right one.
Well, not only do I think his footwork is better than you're going to give him credit for, but now we have the striking god, Jack Slack, putting out an article on just how bad Dan Henderson's footwork is. So, maybe I'm wrong, but I think his footwork, I did see him try to throw his little inside left leg kick bomb,
Those were
right
horrible.
bomb. No, they always look horrible, but they get the fighter to look down, and then he comes over. But you can't get Machida with that left inside leg kick, right bomb. It's just and he threw way more leg kicks than he's ever thrown.
I'm shocked he got a takedown.
Yeah, well, it is. It was weird for me to see Machida on the bottom against somebody, but then he didn't do anything at all with it. So.
Yeah, I don't like Machida's strategy was to hold Henderson for a stand-up, and I hate that. Yeah,
and throughout the fight, I was thinking this. Joe Rogan ended up actually saying it. The best thing for Dan Henderson to do is to stop coming forward, stop fighting, stop trying to fight, make Machida come at you. And
man, I don't agree.
I do agree because Machida is only a counter striker. He's going to hit you when you're at your final point of throwing the punch, you're all the way extended. And Dan Henderson finally employed that, and what did he get for it? He got the UFC president saying, the third round, neither one of them did anything for the last 3.5 minutes. Well, yeah,
it's true.
Because Henderson tried to do something different, and Machida was like, I'm going to dance over here.
But Henderson's dumb, because he lost the first 2 rounds. So why would he stop doing something in the third round? Because Machida doesn't have to do anything. He's won the fight.
Yeah, but he figured I'll try something different. What I was trying didn't work.
Dan Henderson has a similar movement to Tito. They don't cut the ring off very well. They just go forward. They don't have a great shot, particularly now Dan Henderson being 87 years old. All Henderson has is that big punch, and he would never ever land it on Machida. The only person that's decisively beat Machida, other than Jones, and Jones is a freak of nature, and you can't game plan off of that, was Shogun. And what happened with Shogun is he swarmed. He went forward and he landed, and once Machida gets hit, he doesn't like it. Like you can see, like the way he retreats out, he goes straight back karate style. If you match that pace for pace and can throw a volume of strikes, that's how Shogun nearly beat Machida in their first fight, and that's how he knocked him completely out in the second fight. And that's what we needed to do, but Henderson can't do that. That's not his style.
No, he can't swarm because then he's not going to land the punch the way he wants to. And
he doesn't have the movement.
He doesn't have the speed at all. So I guess, it's been proven that's the way to do it, but you've only seen Shogun employ it. Where do you think he goes from now? Because Machida, that is.
Henderson?
Machida.
Oh, Machida. Dana White was emphatic. He's got the title shot after Sonnen.
I don't understand how they just throw the word title shot around.
Well, he said Dan Henderson was the number one contender, and Lyoto beat him, so now he's the number one contender. It doesn't matter what Gustafsson does.
Yeah, but he had already said Gustafsson's got the next title shot, and then he goes and says, "Oh, well, now he beat the number one contender." So
this is a blessing in disguise for Gustafsson because he's not ready.
No, he's not ready.
He needs more time. Yeah. But anyway, this was like a very, very technical dance-off. And even Dan Henderson said, yeah, Lyoto's really good at not fighting.
That's what I know. I was shocked to hear him say that.
Yeah. And then he tried to make it sound more respectful, but you could tell what he was thinking in his head. Let's talk about the final fight. Ronda Rousey, whose name actually comes from Roddy Piper. Much respect, girl. Defeating Liz Carmouche. This fight, I have to admit, the cultural significance of this fight actually struck me during the introductions, and the fight itself. It kind of felt, on a smaller degree, Jackie Robinson-ish.
Whoa, on a much smaller degree. But
right. But the cultural relevance for women, I think, being in the premier organization in the most brutal sport ever created, is profound.
Yeah, I think when it hit me, it hit me the most when they were walking out, and I was like, wow, I'm watching UFC and this is happening, and Bruce Buffer is saying this lady and she in this corner. That was crazy, but what really hit me was Twitter, which is weird, because I'm not a huge Twitter user, but
I did the same thing after the fight.
People before the fight were being retweeted, by people I follow, like Ariel Helwani and stuff, but like celebrities, big celebrities, were tweeting, "Good luck, Rousey. Go get him, Rousey." And it's like, what?
Yeah. Gina Carano said, "I can't take the smile off my face."
Well, that's good. I hope to see Gina Carano back in the back in.
Well, she's a 145er, so she'll have to cut if she goes down. Yeah. But this is what got me in particular. I look at the crowd when they walk in, and you see a very typical demographic in most UFC events.
Yeah.
Men with groupies, like with hot girls that are there with their man, or hot groupies that are looking for men. Mm-hmm. In this fight, surprise, surprise, it actually looked like there was a small segment of people you'd expect to see at Oprah. You know what I mean? Successful, working women that were there to see this fight, and that really struck me. I'm like, oh my god! This is like a touch point in women's progressivism. You know what I mean?
I knew we were watching history. I knew history was...
I knew we were being told we were watching history.
Yeah, I knew that's what was supposed to happen when the fight started. But when it started, I thought, holy shit, I'm watching history. You know what I mean? That's really when it struck.
Particularly when Carmouche got the back. I was like, oh my god, Rousey's going to lose. Dude. It really, I was like half panicked, half I can't believe this is happening. You know what I mean?
I was tired by the time that the main event finally came on, but from the LeVar Johnson and the Dan Henderson thing. But when she got her back, I went nuts.
I put my hand over my mouth like a little girl. I was like, oh my god.
I don't like Ronda Rousey in any way. So I was like, and then I was.
You need to watch the countdown show and the primetime special. You didn't feel for her after that?
No, I didn't.
Oh my gosh! I watched them after the fight, and I was like, oh my god, I actually really like Ronda Rousey.
She has too many. This is going to sound bad, I guess, for me, and really judgmental, but she has too many just little personal things about her mannerisms that she does that are easily correctable, but she does them for I don't know, attention. I don't know.
You're weird.
I'm not weird.
You're weird.
Next time I'll take notes
You're
and I'll
weirdy.
explain every little thing that she does that is for attention.
The only thing about her that really bugs me is that little mole or whatever right under her eye. I think she could easily. She's in LA. She could easily. Get
I
that
have no
removed.
problem with that. I don't, you know what?
That kind of bugs me.
Her voice and her personality she physically is attractive. She is disgusting to me because of her just person. Like, and she's talking to another girl or whatever, and she's like, dude, like, you're not a guy.
She's Cali, man.
No, just not the fact that she said the word, dude. The way she said it.
I think you don't like her, and you're backfilling your reasons why you don't like her. I think it's just a snap call, like, I don't like Ronda Rousey.
Well, next time I'll make a little list.
And this is why. Because she's got big feet.
Next time I'll make a list, and I'll justify my opinion.
Yeah, you make a list.
But anyway, she did something monumental. She got the armbar that she was going to get, that we all knew she was going to get. I really thought Carmouche, though, she was defending fantastically. I thought she was going to keep it.
Well, Roy Nelson sure didn't.
No?
He was pretty vicious on Twitter. He said, "Oh, look," he says, the exact quote I can't remember, but he said something like, "Oh, great, the women's MMA will really progress when they learn to defend arm bars." And he says, "I can't wait for the next women to come in and they'll learn how to do 7 straight guillotines."
That's
he's kind of a cocky bastard when it comes to BJJ. I should have tweeted at him, "Hey, there have been amazing breakthroughs in men's MMA called nutrition and dieting and cardio. You're not in the position to make cheap shots, Potbelly
No,
boy."
that's kind of messed up.
Yeah, it is. I will say this. One thing I wanted to point out about women's MMA is that they have a greater degree of mistakes they can make because of the strength issue. Had Ronda Rousey had had Ronda Rousey and Carmouche been men, had they been Uriah Faber, for instance, Ronda Rousey would have had to tap to that neck crank, to that face crank. But Carmouche, as a woman, doesn't have the physical strength to almost break someone's neck, like someone like Uriah Faber, also a 135er, could have done. And because of that, women can get themselves into positions like a neck crank or face crank and not have to tap because their opponent doesn't have the incremental strength that a man would have. Or they can make mistakes in their stand-up and take a punch that a woman throws because women don't have as much striking power as men. I mean, I don't think there's any proof that women don't have chins that are significantly less durable than a man's. I mean, basically it's the same physical structure, right?
I'm taken aback by your women just aren't as strong.
Women aren't as strong. That's a fact. I'm very pro-women. My wife, like I've said, is a 12-time Goju-Ryu karate champion in Australia. But women, pound for pound, are not as strong, point blank. That's a physical difference. Let me give you another reason why. Men, when they cut weight, can go down to a much lower percentage of body fat than women can. And so when Uriah Faber cuts down to 135, on fight night he may be 155. Whereas Ronda Rousey's probably 145. You know what I mean? Because she just can't. Women cannot cut the same kind of weight men can.
No, I'll agree to that. I'm.
And so that's also strength, but from the testosterone. That's why all these steroids have testosterone, because it's a strength builder. Women physically, pound for pound, are not as strong as men. Am I wrong? Tell me, people that listen to this, tell me if I'm wrong.
I just, you're saying it's a fact. I've never read anything. I don't know.
All right, so let me give you another example. Would you say jumping is indicative of strength?
Jumping? How high you can jump?
Yeah.
I would say it's got to do with leg strength, no?
Right, yeah, leg strength.
Okay.
Perfect example. How many dunks are there in a WNBA game?
Yeah, I don't watch WNBA. I don't think anybody does, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's kind of a moot point. But yeah, you get my point. Like when a woman dunks in a WNBA game, it makes SportsCenter.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying that women don't have the same heart or passion or drive, or they don't deserve to be in the sport or anything like that. I'm just taking the differences for what it is. Like in tennis, when they serve, men serve at a much higher speed than women can because they've got more power. It's just a fact. If you look across sports, men kick a soccer ball much harder than women do. Men throw a football much farther than women can. This is all to do with power. Women can have the same technique and whatever, but as a result of being in a combat sport, the margin of error is much wider, I think, for women, and I think that kind of actually makes it more exciting.
I mean, where I thought
because
you were
they can
going,
get into near scrapes.
where I thought you were going before you went all women are weak, is
oh my God.
I thought you were going to. They have a much wider margin for error because they're new. They're a new brand, and so if they're not as good at this or that, that's okay because they will be. It's like they're having their Hoist Gracie. They haven't had their Hoist Gracie yet, or maybe Ronda is their Hoist Gracie.
Yeah, Ronda's definitely their Hoist Gracie. And I agree with that. I think women's MMA is just now hitting 1995 for men's.
Yeah, they might be behind, and that I agree with. That's okay that they're behind in that. I want to. I guess maybe I got to search it up to find fact showing me that women just aren't.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with pointing out differences. Like there are differences between black people and white people.
No, I know that. I'm just
black people don't have the sensitivity to sun because their skin absorbs the sun differently than ours. That's a genetic difference.
Right, and that's what I want to see is
nothing,
fact, genetic bone structure, something. Women. You said fact. I want to see it.
All right. Well, I'm not going to go give it to you.
No, I'll look it up.
People on our show, surely are way smarter than us. They can point towards studies or things like that, or tear me down. I'm ready for it. My wife is probably the most feminist person on the planet, and she said in her karate classes she had to fight the men because she would beat the women up, but the men were all very strong and they had to hold back. Otherwise, basically they just destroy her because they were just so much stronger. You know what I mean? And she is a female combatant. So she knows firsthand. The thing is, you get a lot of this women feminist stuff where it's like they say, okay, not only are women entitled to all the things men are, which is true, but women in every way are equal. And that's not true. Like, women do not have the 100-meter dash world record.
It's true.
That's just a fact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the women that say that are typically the women that don't compete in sports. The women that do compete in sports and have competed with men just kind of like shrug their shoulders and like, this is stupid. Of course men are stronger. It doesn't mean that they're more technical or they have better heart or they want it more, better desire, or they're more worthy of being an athlete. No, it just means they're physically stronger. That's all.
I get you. I read you.
All right. So Ronda Rousey almost gets choked out, almost gets face cranked, shrugs her off, gets down, and gets her in the big brother, little brother hold with that side headlock and just bang, bang, bang right on the forehead. That was pretty funny. My brother did that to me so many times. Surprised Liz Carmouche didn't realize how to get out of it. Oh, wait, you can't bite the other person. That's illegal.
No, and that's something she said in the post-fight. She was like, yeah, that was totally unintentional. You have teeth marks, dude. I didn't mean to. I don't know. I don't think she did mean to.
Well, that was Ronda.
Yeah,
when Ronda had the face crank, her mouthpiece came out. When Liz Carmouche was being held down and Ronda had her in that side headlock, as a kid, my brother put that move on me, and I would bite him on the ribcage to get out.
Nothing wrong with that.
But I ended up, yeah, you're fighting for survival, man. I'm a gamer. So Ronda Rousey, really nice little moment when she wins and McCarthy pulls her off, and she's just laying there and she puts her hands up. Also really cool to see her expression when Dana White put the belt on her. I know you hate Ronda Rousey, you hate women, you're a misogynist.
I think more at that moment, I wasn't looking at Ronda Rousey, I was looking at the weird look on Dana White's face, and it all of a sudden clicked, like, this is the moment that Dana White was looking forward to when he signed women's MMA. He wanted to be able to touch their behinds.
Oh my lord! I will say, I do notice that after the fight, he was so happy with the result, and I was watching him very closely to see if he would treat his female fighters different than his men. And after the press conference, if you notice, he pulled both of them together and gave them the Big Daddy hug.
He did.
And I was like, yeah, I doubt he would do that with Frankie and Aldo. Just saying.
I think he was just so proud that their introduction worked.
But why would he hug them like?
Yeah,
like
he didn't hug bantamweights when they started bantamweights. You know what I mean?
Right, or where does John Moraga get his hug? You know what I mean? Go, John Moraga. All right. It's funny though. This is women's fighting, and Ariel Helwani interviewed Misha Tate and what's her name, Kat Zingano, and of course. He says, "What did you think of the performance? What did you see?" I didn't think it was very good. Like all catty, I love that. It's funny. It's just women and men a little bit different. That was the equivalent of the GSP. I am not impressed with her performance.
There's going to be, I guess shit talk's just going to be second nature now with the women.
Yeah, they're not going to shit talk to the media. They'll shit talk with all the other women fighters about the other fighters.
Got to do it behind
then in person, oh, that's lovely. You did such a great job, Ronda. Bitch. This fight apparently set every pay-per-view record for any women's combat sport ever. Better than Ali Frazier when the two daughters fought.
Well, another thing that Dana promised is that it would set the record for any pay for an MMA or pay for a women's fighter. Interested to see. They haven't come out with it yet, at least that I've seen. What Ronda Rousey and Carmouche got as a base pay. I'd be very interested to see that.
Well, apparently Headliners gets like some sort of a fraction of the pay-per-view buy. And he said as a result of that, these are probably going to be the two biggest payouts in female fighter history.
The other point that I wanted to bring up that I was surprised by, I wanted to see your take on it, is what do you think about Robertson getting the submission of the night over a Ronda Rousey armbar? Like, obviously, he did a submission that you've never seen before, right? So that's huge. But was it surprising to you?
This was a tough event because the historical significance of Rousey fighting Carmouche put the context of their fight in a magnifying glass. I really thought give Kinney sub of the night, but then let Bermudez and Grice share fight of the night honors with Rousey and Carmouche.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I think it was a big statement that these are our girls and this happened, but we can still be honest with ourselves and say these were better submissions, these were better fights.
But I mean, if you look at the action in round one, Carmouche almost got her finish. Rousey got her finish with 10 seconds left. That's about as back and forth of a round as
it was
see.
Absolutely phenomenal and very fun to watch, and especially after
you
had your palate cleansed by Lyoto Machida and Dan Henderson. But
yes, Uriah Faber was the wine glass. This is pretty good, and then Lyoto Machida and Dan Henderson was the drinking of the water to cleanse the palate for the next glass.
That's exactly what it was. But
yes, very nice analogy.
Like that. And that's what you can look forward to with my Pro UFC Cutting Fighters article.
Ding, ding, ding.
This
Mitchell
week.
Stuckey, whatculture.com. Last question for you. Foreign crowds aside, Brazil, Canada, UFC 157 is probably the best fight crowd, at least for Rousey and Carmouche, that I've seen in a long time.
For Rousey and Carmouche, it absolutely was.
They were off the chain.
They were crazy the entire time, and that's how they should be for big fights. That's how a crowd should be. But I can't get on an American crowd for booing Brennan Schaub, LeVar Johnson. I can't get on a crowd for booing Lyoto Machida, Dan Henderson. What?
Did they really boo when Brendan Schaub landed that takedown, or did the entire collective MMA audience just groan like?
They all just threw up their pens like you did. They're just like, well,
no, fuck this.
There was two ways for this fight to go, and that's the way.
Yeah, we can either have Christmas and Hanukkah all together, or a math test. No offense.
I don't know. So I can't blame the crowd for booing those kinds of fights.
But the energy for the Ronda Rousey fight, Liz Carmouche fight was like literally Brazilian.
Yeah, it was crazy, and I think that if that's the kind of energy that females can bring over, and that translates into men's MMA, or if Misha Tate and Kat Zingano, if they get that kind of reaction, that'll be awesome. It's really it'll be really refreshing to see that back in the UFC, that kind of excitement.
At the risk of going a bit long here, what I'm worried about is that there was this huge touchstone moment for Rousey as the first woman, breaking grounds, breaking barriers, and then it'll sort of ebb after 10, or so fights, women's fights, into obscurity. Or into a Facebook or an FX Fuel TV headline.
I don't. It's too early to tell, and that is certainly a possibility. They started off huge with their bestseller, and where do you think they'll put like the Miesha Tate fight? That's the question. But
I'll tell you what they need. It'll never happen. It may never happen. The likelihood of it's very low. They need Gina Carano to come back, fight at 135, and be the Gina Carano before she fought Cyborg. The Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano, if they could have a rivalry, like a good rivalry, back and forth, that will sustain women's MMA until the rest of the sport, until there's a huge population of female fighters who draw from.
I think Rousey would crush Carano.
Well, she would, but that's what I'm saying. She needs to be the Carano before Cyborg, not the fighter that's been off for 3.5 years.
I
that
think
kind of thing. She needs to be
pre-Cyborg Carano would get crushed.
Well, keep in mind, Carano is a legit striker, and she's bigger.
Yeah, she is bigger. I think that I'm perfectly happy with Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey rivalry, because Miesha Tate.
But I'm saying from a marketing standpoint, Gina Carano has it.
Yeah, I don't think they'll fall off. I mean, I certainly could see that scenario happening, but I think that they'll be sustainable. And the question though, and another thing that I didn't like was the question, I guess, is where do they rank among the men? Are they equal? And it was interesting to hear Dana White. Somebody asked him in the post-fight scrum, what would you do if you have, or is Rousey always going to be the main event? And he said, well, that depends. If we have another title fight, then no. So no matter what,
his reason was,
she's lighter.
His reason was, they do all the title fights based off of weight. So heavyweight's always mainline, a headline.
Right, so they're going to put on, I don't know, a Dominic Cruz fight. Well, what happens if it's a bantamweight in both? Who headlines? You know what I mean? So wait. So that means if Demetrius Johnson's fighting and Rousey's fighting, Rousey gets the nod then? I
think at this point you have to say because they crushed their event and the flyweights didn't.
Yeah, I just think it could fall back into nothing, but I don't think it will. I just hope that they do get equality.
Yeah, I hope not. All right, well, that's our show. Lots of stuff to talk about. We'd love to hear from you. Let me know if I'm off base on the women's strength thing. I'm not, but I want to hear your opinion. If you think what you think about this fight, Brendan Schaub, Machida, Rousey, Uriah, Josh Koscheck, any of the prelims, let us know. We'd like to hear from you. We'd like to have a good, healthy debate. Also, be sure to check out Mitchell Stuckey's wonderful upcoming article on UFC cuts.
Woo!
Maybe you let him know who else you think should be cut. We could come up with a list of 100 and then send it over to Dana.
I'd love comments.
Mission done. All right, guys. I really enjoyed the event. Mitchell, any final words?
Thanks for listening. Check out the article if you get the chance. It'll be up later this week.
You complete me. Farewell, guys. See you next time.